I think I am live. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I think I'm live. I think we're good to go. This is the live for how to plan your Halloween pre-sales in just 1 hour. So throughout this live, I'm going to give you a bunch of tips, tricks, things that you need to kind of get your pre-sale going. I'm hoping to answer a lot of questions about pre-sales. I am by no means an expert, but I do like planning, and so I wanted to kind of go into the planning aspect of pre-sales so that you can go into it and be super prepared and confident that your pre-sales will go smoothly. I've always believed in over-planning. I think that is the best, but that's like the teacher in me. So backstory, I always like to know what people in this group do. I think it's so fascinating that we are from all different backgrounds, but we're united by baking, and whether we own a brick and mortar or a cottage bakery, which I think is the most often the case. I just like to know what everybody does. I'm a teacher by trade. I guess that's a trade. I'm a teacher. I teach middle school math. And I also teach digital photography, so like a little elective for middle school students. I teach virtually, which is super fun. I like to teach online. It's new, it's different, but it's definitely really really interesting. You can do a lot more with it, I feel. Yeah, so just a little bit about me. I own and operate Sprinkled Raspberry in Avondale, Arizona. That's my little cottage bakery. It's kind of on hold right now. I haven't actually done anything since February. I took a little mental health break that turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. It was only supposed to be a month when I moved and kind of got settled, and here we are almost September. But no time like the present to plan out your pre-sale and come back with Halloween. So let's get started. As we get going, you guys can definitely, I want to know where you guys are from. So I like to know where everyone is from, like I've just said, and what you guys do. So throw that in the comments just so I can see it. It's my own personal thing. If you're not comfortable with that, that's okay too. If you are watching this live, welcome. If you're watching the replay, please just put replay. I'm really good about answering questions after the fact. I'm really good about that. I'm not really good at following through with posting things like I said I will. If you know me from one of my other lives, I said I did a reverse calendaring one, and I said I would post something from that live, and I think it's been a year and I still haven't. So I'm so sorry if you were waiting for that. Yeah, I'm really bad at follow through. Ask my students, I will do best for them, but I definitely forget what I say. If it's not written down, forget it. That's why for this live, I have about 4 pages of notes. So let's get going. Please ask all of your questions. I promise to answer them. I'm gonna try my best to field the comments as I'm going, but if I don't get to it right away, I promise I'll go back through and I will read them at the end. Okay, without further ado, we've now wasted 3 minutes of your life, so let's get started. So like I mentioned, this is the live for planning your pre-sales. This will work for any pre-sale. My kind of clickbait, if you will, was for Halloween. That's our I think back to school is kind of done. I've been in school now for 5 weeks. So in Arizona, we start really, really early. So some of you might have just ended back to school or are about to go back to school. I know on the East Coast of at least the US, the East Coast goes more towards Labor Day. I don't actually know. I've always gone back to school in July or August, so yeah. Anyhow, so back to school is basically done. We're now looking ahead to Halloween, but this will work for anything. The things that I will talk about, you can definitely apply to Christmas, which I think is something that's in the back of our mind as bakers, Christmas is not far away. It's not close by any means, but it's definitely not far away. Anyhow, well, welcome. I'm so excited that there are so many people on. It's 8 a.m. for me right now, which on a Friday, I can't even believe I'm actually speaking coherently. So yeah, it's so good to see all of you, and I'm so excited that you're here. Yay, more people from Phoenix. Okay, cool. I am excited. So the first thing for your pre-sale, the first thing is to plan what you want to sell. There's a live from April of last year, so it's kind of an older live, but Gina Marie Burke, who's amazing and does great lives, watch all of them. She did a live talking about planning your pre-sales. Specifically, this one was for Mother's Day, but again, these tips will work for any holiday. So she talks about she talks about planning your pre-sales, whatever you want to offer, based off of what your target audience wants. So when thinking about pre-sales, when thinking about anything for your business, you need to know your target audience. That's something that we talk about a lot in this group, at the least. Gosh, sorry, I'm like distracted by the fact that there was this random flyaway. This is why I'm crazy and I shouldn't do lives, but. So you want to think about what your audience is going to want. What sold really, really well last year for you? Think about that and go with that. It doesn't have to be a complicated process, and don't overthink it. That's the thing. You don't want to have too many offerings that your audience is like, wow, I don't know what to pick from this list of 30. I've done that before and I sold nothing. So definitely don't overthink it. Keep it simple and think about what your audience will want. Think about what sold at Halloween last year. If you are a new business, my little plug for the group, my little first tip for you is Heather posted on August 6th, I think. I went back and looked at all the dates. I'm pretty sure it's August 6th. She did a post, was like, hey, what sold really well for you last year for Halloween? And if you go through that, there's 200 different comments, probably more than that now, I don't even know. But some of the things that sold really well and things to consider for Halloween would be DIY kits. DIY kits, that's always a go-to for any holiday. PYO cookies, so paint your own cookies. A thing that's really specific to Halloween would be You've Been Boozed. Those you can get the little minis that you put into this little cookie tag box thing I've seen, and you put it on a wine bottle, and then it has a cute label that says You've Been Boozed. Or if you want to be more kid friendly, You've Been Booed. Little buckets or bags that just has the tag that says You've Been Booed. That's a really good one. Another one was, sorry, if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes because, like I said, I can't remember anything ever. And that is probably bad. But anyhow, so DIY kits, paint your own cookies, You've Been Boozed or You've Been Booed. Those bucket of booze, comes in a cute little bucket. I think last year we all went crazy for those cute little buckets from Target. Well, anything Target we go crazy for in this group, but specifically those Halloween buckets. Bag of booze. And then one thing that I know sells really well for Halloween is personalized singles. I'm specifically talking about different sugar cookie offerings, but this would work. I don't even make sugar cookies. I do drop cookies and cupcakes. So I'm just talking to sugar cookies, since that's primarily what this group talks about, but you can change this up for whatever your audience is used to from you. But personalized singles, so with the the kid's name on a little pumpkin or something, and then a bag of minis, those are kind of a good offering. And then one thing that I think was popular last year was those spooky pizzas. So it was a circular thing and you decorated it and it was a pizza. A little shameless plug for the Cookie College. I'm not even in the Cookie College anymore, but I remember Corey, she makes a lot of photographs and will post them and gives you the rights to use them, kind of like stock imagery. But she made a bunch of photos for DIY kits, those spooky pizzas, just a lot of things in general. Typically does PYO cookies, so you can definitely look if you're in the Cookie College, or if you're not, join, and then you can look at those offerings. But so just figuring out what your audience is gonna want from you, what was popular, or what do you think will be popular. So come up with those offerings, and that's the first step. So planning out your offerings. again, I would say, so the question, the first question in the chat that I saw is, for those of you who weren't selling last year, what would you recommend we choose? Honestly, what do you think your audience is gonna like? I only make drop cookies and cupcakes, like I said, so it's hard for me to think about like what would my audience like if it was a cookie, but I have a feeling for Halloween, things that would be really popular are gonna be things that they can share with others. So those like bag of booze that they can like give either their own kids or give to someone else, or like the You've Been Booed, that's really popular. When I used to teach in a brick and mortar, we like the whole school would participate. And I remember one teacher getting those like bucket of cookies and giving it to different classrooms to share. So things like that. What do you think will sell? What will resonate with your audience? If you're not sure, what would you want? If you were buying Halloween cookies, what would you want? And start there. That would be my best advice. Excuse me. Okay. Once you have all of your offerings figured out, yeah, sorry, I was reading the comments. No questions yet, but definitely You've Been Booed, or like the adult friendly You've Been Boozed, and then the spooky pizza. Yeah, those are some popular ones. The next thing is you need to figure out your timeline. So my entire kind of premise of this live, excuse me, is to figure out your timeline and build from there. So Corey and Heather will always talk about 6 weeks. I've always run my pre-sales off of 6 weeks. It's kind of a good golden time. I'm going to give you a timeline of 7 weeks of a date to start and when to end, like right before Halloween. So kind of give you like a good timeline. Sorry guys, I was supposed to have this live last week, but I like literally woke up and like lost my voice, and I've still been a little sick. So I apologize for like coughing and like not being able to speak. Oh my goodness. Okay. So 6 weeks from October 31st is September 12th. So we're going to work backwards, reverse calendaring, my favorite thing. And we are going to, excuse me, we're going to plan every week something to post or like your content for 6 weeks. So something I already mentioned is to think about your offerings and what is the application for this offering. So keep that in the back of your mind, write it out. What can You've Been Booed things be used for? What can DIY kits be used for? Think about that. What can your audience use it for? DIY kits would be a fantastic thing for like your kids, or I don't have kids, so I'm just speaking from like what I think would be a good idea. So if it's not, you know, discretion, but I would say a DIY kit. You've got your kids all dressed up in their outfits, their costumes, they're ready to go, they're really excited, but it's not quite time to go out yet. Maybe you have a DIY kit, right? And you can like decorate and get them in the mood and keep them entertained without, you know, taking too much time. I am so sorry. I'm going to run and grab water really fast because I'm dying. I wish I had remembered to put one on my desk. I am so sorry. I will be right back. I'm like the worst live presenter ever. I'm so sorry about that. But no matter what you do, keep it true to your target audience. Have them in the back of your mind as you're going through. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. So once you have your offerings figured out, then you can work backwards, make your timeline, and plan out exactly what you want to do. So these are my tips for making a timeline and kind of figuring out how to plan everything. The first week, September 12th, this is when you're going to start. This is when you want to create awareness. You want to tease your audience, and you want to talk about what you're offering. So maybe you've already come up with some ideas. You have everything figured out that you want to offer. Start to post about that. Maybe not specific offerings, but like get them ready. Like Corey just posted today. It was like the letter board, you know, those boards where you can like kind of spell out different things. She posted the board, and it says Halloween is in 66 days, which is a scary thought, and honestly, but it was that, and then it had like a cute little background, black and white, was Halloween themed. But that's a really good way to create awareness. You don't have to start that now. If you want, you can, but if you wait until September 12th, which is it's technically 7 weeks before Halloween, but I'll show you why it's 7 weeks as we go through. So create awareness. So maybe you want to make a similar post. You can style it where there's like a little background, your flat lay, letterboard, cookies, and you say Halloween is in 6 weeks, that's 30 days. You know, it's in 30 days, 45 days, whatever the number is. Create awareness. Now your audience is like, whoa, wait. Halloween is seriously just 66 days away. Create that awareness. Oh, you guys are so funny in the chat. My gosh, I wrote out this, like, all my notes 300 times. I think I would have memorized it. So, tease your audience. Get them excited. Get them ready. Make them start thinking, like, wait, Halloween is so close. What am I going to do? Oh my gosh, I need to start ordering my cookies. Oh, I need to get XYZ figured out. And then this is going to be a good reminder for them anyhow, because they're going to be like, oh, maybe I should go to the store and get some candy, stuff like that. But get them thinking about, okay, we only have so long until Halloween. I need to start figuring out, what am I getting for my kids? What am I doing for my community? What am I doing for whatever they have going on? And then you start to create that awareness with your offerings. So, you can make it fun, okay? Make it engaging and work smarter, not harder. So there's a bunch of things you can do to get ready yourself, but also keep your audience aware of Halloween coming up, aware of whatever coming up, whatever holiday, and aware and engaged with your content. So this kind of is like 2 parts. So the first week, September 12th, and the second week, September 19th. So these are Mondays, but you can figure out the days from there. Create awareness and create engagement. Just get them excited. Corey and Heather posted a podcast following this very similar thing. And it is episode 71. And they do it for back to school. But again, these things all work for, all these tips and information will work for any holiday or pre-sale. So the first week, start to create awareness. Make like 3 posts where you're reminding them. Like the first one can be like, hey guys, did you know that we only have 66 days until Halloween? Or whatever the case may be, whatever the number is. Maybe you post like a picture or a story or a reel, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you normally do, of like, hey, I'm decorating samples, you know, for Halloween. Can't wait to show you the final product. Ask them questions. So engage with them. Get them to engage with you. One of the best ways of engagement is just to ask for it. Hey guys, what do you want to see? What do you remember from last year? If you're new, so you can ask them, what do they want? What do they remember from last year? What would they want you to bring back? If you're new, give them options. Be like, hey, for Halloween, I was thinking of this and this. Which one would you rather see? Have a poll. So you're creating awareness, but you're also getting them to engage with you and interact with you. And the more that they do that, the more you kind of bring it up, it's going to be in the back of their minds like, okay, cool. I need to remember sprinkled raspberry for Halloween pre-sale. So whatever the case may be. Another thing to do, so creating awareness, I would, in that regard, I would create like a countdown on Instagram. I don't know if you can do it on Facebook. I only mess with Instagram a lot, but you can create a countdown and then they can save that as an alarm. So it's like, hey, save this countdown, like we have 10 days until pre-sales go live, whatever the case may be. So you can interchange this information, but like make like a countdown. Just keep them interested, keep them aware that it's coming. And then in the second week, when you start to really engage with them, you want to create maybe like I said, photos of your progress, lives of you decorating a DIY kit. Be like, hey guys, I'm offering DIY kits again. Do you ever get stuck on how to decorate them? Let's decorate this pumpkin together and I'll show you how to do it. Whatever the case may be, come up with different designs, but you can start to get them engaged and make content for yourself. That's what I mean by like work smarter, not harder. I always want to flip that when I say it. I always want to be like, I have to think. I'm like, oh, work harder. No, don't work harder. Work smarter. But create reels of, if you're decorating samples, why not put up like a little tripod of your camera looking down, decorating your cookies. Now you're making your samples and you have content. So just start to think about different things. But you want to first start by keeping them aware that it's coming and getting them engaged. Let them choose your colors. Like, hey guys, do we want traditional Halloween or do we want like, I don't know, non-traditional pink for Halloween, something like that. So like get them thinking like, hey, do we like this design for singles or this design for singles? Vote. And then the more that they're engaged with you, the more that they're interacting, the more they're going to think about you when it comes time. And then in the back of their mind, because they're aware that it's coming up, you're going to go ahead, like they're going to be like, 10 days, I'm going to look out for that pumpkin because I know it's coming, or whatever the case may be. All right, part of my problem is I also speak really fast, so I apologize. But again, please ask any questions in the comments. Okay, so the first week, September 12th, is awareness. Hey, Halloween is coming. Pre-sales are in 15 days. Save this alarm. And then whatever else you can think of. Week 2, engagement. That's September 19th. So I'm just like working backwards of planning out your pre-sales. So that's why I'm mentioning dates. Again, off of a 6-week runtime. Technically 7 weeks, but again, I'll tell you why the 7th week is in there. So, week 3, this is the final week before you launch your pre-sale. So, again, I'm going off of 6 weeks. You can cut this down, whatever works for you. I think 6 weeks is like a good time, and that's also what Corey and Heather mention a lot, so that's also just in the back of my head. But week 3, September 26th, is like the time where you're going to kind of get them to like evaluate that you are really the best choice for them. So they're aware that it's coming. You've started to engage with them, so they're already more interested in what you're doing. Now comes that kind of final push, right? In week 4, we're gonna launch our pre-sale. So week 3 is like that final push to get engagement and awareness. So if they haven't seen anything up until now, now's your final chance to be like, hey, it's coming. And then they're gonna be like, wait, I didn't know it was coming. Okay, cool, I need to remember. So really important is you're not offering your pre-sale just yet. You're waiting. You're just continuing to build it up. So some things that you want to maybe post about during this final week before pre-sales is kind of like, what are your final offerings? So maybe you've got them engaged, they've picked it out with you, you know you're offering DIY kits. So post like, hey, one of the first things I'm selling during the pre-sale is DIY kits or the spooky pizzas, whatever you're offering. Show what you're offering, but also show like your packaging. Keep them like really engaged in what you're offering, so then they're even more excited. And then when it finally is time to buy, they're like, yes, I know exactly what I want. So show all of your final offerings, your packaging, things like that. Your pre-sale details. So give the details. This is the time to give the details. Like, hey, it's 1 week. Remind them of when you're launching, how long your launch is going to run for, how to order. Keep it simple. The one thing I learned from Heather and Corey is don't make it complicated. If it's too complicated to buy from you, they're not going to buy from you. I've probably lost, well, I don't run my business Right now I'm still in like a break, like I mentioned, but I don't run it. When I ran my business more frequently and I actually like put a lot of effort into it, to order from me wasn't complicated to the point where like they could just go on a form, and that's how I offered it, was a jot form. But it had no way of having them really do a pre-sale besides this really long, complicated jot form, and you had to scroll through everything, all the offerings I had, which again at one point was like 30 offerings, so that's way too many. Don't do that. But it was too complicated. So don't make it complicated. A jot form is a great way to do it, but maybe make it, again, less offerings, but make it so that it's easy to flow through. And if you read the group, like the stuff in the group, but also listen to the podcast, Heather and Corey give a lot of ideas of how to make that easier for your audience. So this is, like I was saying, this is the time to remind them when you're going to go live with your pre-sale, how to order, and what should they expect. Also, something that you want to post is like a review. Maybe you have reviews from the previous year. Again, if you've been in business for more than a year and you've done Halloween pre-sales, maybe you have a review from Halloween, and you want to go with that. But any review, be like, you should buy from me because, and this is what a customer said. I've done this in the past, and I use Canva. I feel like in this group we talk about Canva a lot, but Canva, they have templates. So if you, I just pick like, I want to do a Facebook post, and then I'll type in review template, and they have cute little ones, and you can change it so that it's more Halloween themed. What I've done is I've made a bank of all of my reviews. I don't have a lot, but I've made a bank of different reviews, and even if it's, okay, I have reviews that I share that it's my mom and my brother, but they don't need to know that. I just say, Lori said that this is how good sprinkled raspberry is. So put reviews. Make them, like, this is a final push to be like, yes, I'm buying these things from this bakery, and this is why. So just make sure that they, like, know that. And it doesn't, if you don't have reviews, it's still not too late to ask for those. So maybe put it on, out into the world, send out an email, be like, the bottom, you can like, if you've ever ordered from me before, send a review here, or something like that. There's lots of ways to do that. Excuse me. So I'm just going to go through and read a couple of the questions that I've seen come in really fast before I continue to week 4. So one way to do a countdown, I only can speak to what I've done on Instagram. So one thing I've done is I will create like a story, and I will make it I always make my like story templates if it's not just like me talking or like a quick photo. I make my templates on Canva. I use Canva for everything. Canva's free options are amazing. You can do so much for free. As an educator, I signed up for the free pro account, so I use that as well, but even pro, I think, is like $13 a month. It's not too much, and you get a lot for it. So, but you can do it for free. But I'll make like a story. I'm sorry, I'm like using my hands, but then like I realize I'm flipped and it's weird. So I will make like a little template on Canva of like Halloween pre-sales, and I'll leave a space, and then there's a sticker option on Instagram where you can make a countdown. So I'll make a countdown that says Halloween pre-sale launch, enter when it's going to happen, and then you can put that on the center of your template, and then I just reshare that every so often, and that countdown will always be there, so I can just like replug it in every single time. And then I've done it before, but I don't remember all of the steps for it, but there's a way for people to save that countdown to their Instagram, and then they get like a little alarm that says, hey, sprinkled raspberry Halloween pre-sale launch is happening today. Like, don't forget to order your cookies. That's what, in their head they'll be thinking. Another way you could do it, you could like count down on your Instagram. So maybe, let's say you're posting every like 3 days a week. So on the first week, when you bring awareness, you could say it's 15 days until launch, and then like the next week it's 8 days until launch, and then maybe the next week you're like 1 day until launch. So, like, you can just count it down on Instagram, and then make like that first, so like a carousel, like that first post is like the number counting it down, make it consistent. I don't know, that would just be what I would do of the dates. And then maybe like keeping in theme with like awareness or your offerings. So like make that first one like countdown, like swipe to see what's coming up or something like that. That's one way you could do it. But I've only ever done it on Instagram as like a story sticker. What is a spooky pizza? Honestly, I'm not really sure. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but there's a post that Heather made back at the beginning of August. If you search Halloween Heather Miracle, this will pop up. It's from August 6th. In the comments of this post, she asked, what were your best sellers last year? Something like that. And then somebody posted spooky pizza, and I remember Corey in the Cookie College posting about it. So that's where I got the idea from. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's like a circular like blank cookie that's cut into like the triangles, and then you can like you give them icing and stuff to decorate it, and you can give them like little eyes and sprinkles and stuff like that to make it like a pizza. I hope that makes sense. Yes, you can get Canva Pro for free. I haven't like a .edu email address, and that worked, but I also I think you submit like you can submit your certification, and I submitted my teacher's badge and my Google certification that I have. So if you're an educator. Anyhow, okay. So I think I answered all the questions. Keep them coming. You guys are an amazing audience. You were amazing even if you didn't ask questions. But week 4, so back on our timeline, week 4. It's October 3rd, so now it's October. I feel like I'm not, like as an audience member, I'm not going to order in September because, whoa, that seems, like Halloween seems so far away. Now I know it's like 66 days away. That's going to go like that. So I like to think, my gosh, I cannot speak. I like to think that come October 3rd, week 4, where you're finally going to launch your pre-sale, your audience will be like, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to go for it because it's October, and October in my brain is Halloween season. That's just how I work. But I'm also like a strict like December is Christmas person. So some people started decorating for Halloween like in July. No shame, no judgment. Just people work differently. Anyhow, it's week 4. It's October 3rd. You're going to launch your pre-sale. It is go time. This is the moment you've been waiting for, right? Like your audience is prepped. They're ready to go. They know exactly how to order. They've been waiting for launch day, and it's here. And you're going to tell them in your posting on social media, in a story, in a post, in all of the above, a live, whatever you want to do. It's go time, and it's time to purchase, guys. Get your pre-sales orders in because that's a limited time, right? Like, make it, I feel like the word limited pushes most people to buy sooner. So if you are like pushing it, but we're going to run our pre-sale for, you can do whatever, but based on like what my timeline, like what I'm going to go over, I'm going to run it for 3 weeks. That's what I would do. But you can do it however you want. Again, I'm going to say that a million times. But yeah, let your audience know it's time to shop. Remind them how to do it, because I guarantee they forgot from the previous week, or they didn't even see that post from the previous week. That's a common thing. Heather always mentions, Heather and Corey, but specifically I just remember Heather talking about this a lot. Make it easy. Make it easy for them to shop, or they're not going to order. And we all know that the algorithm sucks, and it doesn't show our stuff to everyone all the time. So definitely make sure that you are constantly reminding them of how to go about it. Okay, so that's week 4. Week 5 and 6 is kind of like the end. So these are the final 2 weeks of your pre-sale. If you didn't already sell out, if you sold out, congrats to you, you're awesome. But if you didn't, or you're like, well, I could fit a few more orders in, October 10th through the 21st is week 5 and week 6. You're going to keep pushing your pre-sales Don't just post once and expect to be done. Some of us have built up a business where we could probably sell out in that first week, but if not, that's okay. That's why we give ourselves 3 weeks to kind of go about it. So keep posting, keep reminding them. This is where you can take some of those engagement strategies from earlier and post them now. So some other things, I think I mentioned them all, but let me just double check. I'm so sorry that I have so many notes to go through. Create reels. Yeah, reels of you decorating. So if you decorate all your samples and you make a video of all of them, that's probably like 6-ish videos, and you can break that down even further to different, like how you edit it. And so definitely like post reels and be like, hey, did you know that my pre-sale is live right now? You could get this cookie today. Like, make sure you order yours. You're selling out fast. One thing I did for last year for Christmas, I know this is Halloween, but for Christmas, I really pushed my DIY kits. First off, they're very easy for me to make, and I don't have to do a lot of work, but I did a live decorating my DIY cookies. So I was like, hey, let me show you how to do, and I do buttercream, so this might look differently for royal icing, whatever you want to do, but like, let me show you how to make my snowflake. And I like decorated it, so simple, just white, right? But I decorated it, I did like a couple fancy different designs, and that was a live, and people said that really helped them, because sometimes they don't want to decorate cookies because they don't know what to do. And if we're posting a DIY kit with blank cookies, they're not going to see what to do. They're not going to get ideas. So a live or a reel or some kind of video would help with that. So yeah, just keep engaging your audience. This is not the time to be like, hey, the engagement thing has passed. I don't feel like talking to you guys anymore. Please buy from me though. Just keep it going. Based on episode, I kind of got a lot of the wording, not like the descriptions for each week from Heather and Corey's podcast number 71, and they use they say you want to keep your audience, you want to follow up. So this is not like, make sure you are emailing them like, hey, you bought from me, thank you so much. So follow up and continue to create that like kind of customer loyalty. Listen to episode 71 for like way more details on that. Yeah, but remind them of why they picked you, if they did pick you. And if they haven't picked you yet, remind them why you're the best choice for them. And then, once you've done all of that, this is where, so I set a 6-week runtime of your pre-sale, of getting them engaged and ready to go. And then, on the 7th week, so September 12th is 7 weeks before Halloween. I almost said Christmas. This is your time to bake. You ended your pre-sale on October 21st. You can pick your days, but I always run Monday through Friday for 3 weeks. That's what I typically do. But that 7th week is your time to bake. So you know your run times. This is not your first rodeo for baking. If this is your first pre-sale, how would you do a custom order? I feel like do that kind of similarly. You might need 2 weeks, but by week 6, you probably have some orders that you can start to work on, you know, how long your cookies last, things like that. When I do cookies, very seldom. It's buttercream, so that has to be kind of closer to when they're going to pick it up than royal icing. I know you can freeze and stuff like that. How I do my cookies is different. So you know how your cookies work, you know how to decorate them, and so just figure out in that week how long to work it. I know that in her live, Gina mentioned that she does like 2 weeks of baking and decorating and packaging because she ships and stuff like that. But so whatever is going to work the best for you and your audience. So just, you know what will work. And if you don't, plan ahead earlier. Definitely give yourself more time. But I feel like in that last week, you can definitely, this is your time to bake and package. And then I would hold pickups on Saturday, October 29th. I cannot think of words. I almost said September. So, yeah. So then set your times and your location. This is specific to you and what you have. If you have 1 pickup location, cool. If you have 2, whatever you do. Okay. So, I promised that you could plan this all out in 1 hour. That was kind of my clickbaity title, and it wasn't to be clickbaity. So now what are you going to do? This is what I would recommend. I kind of walked you through like a weekly process. I would print off a September and an October calendar. I would sit down and I would plan out from the 12th or whenever you want to start. You want to start sooner than the 12th, that's okay. If you start after, also okay. You can kind of combine the awareness and engagement part together. You can combine certain parts together and work off of whatever timeline works for you. But I would print off those calendars and start to think about what you want to offer. That's kind of number one, right? What am I going to offer? Plan that out. Maybe in a note on your phone, plan out all of them, and then start to think about what would work for your audience and kind of how you want to like list out your offerings, if that makes sense. Like how you want to go about posting, what is the thought just left my brain. But like think about how you want to post on social media. That's where I was going. Like how do you want to post out on social media? Are you posting every single day? Are you posting 3 times a week? Whatever is your sweet spot. If you post every day, keep it consistent and plan that out. But in an hour, you can plan out once you have your offerings and once you kind of know, okay, week 1, what am I doing? I'm posting on Monday. I'm going to post an awareness like, hey, we have 66 days until Halloween, whatever the number is at the time you're posting. So on that first week, my first post is going to be an awareness of, hey, we have this many days until Halloween. The second one is going to be maybe a countdown, like 15 days until my pre-sale launches. Here's a sneak peek at the first thing I'm offering. So maybe you're doing DIY kits, easy, plug it in there and say DIY kits coming soon, something like that. And then on that Friday, think about one other way to post. And I'm thinking just posting on your like feed, but definitely maybe you want to just do in your stories or something like that. So plan this out. And then on the second week, you are going to engage with them. So like let's say you're like, okay, for personalized singles, like I can do a ghost, a pumpkin, candy corn, and a skull. And those are like the 4 things that you've thought about. I would maybe ask your audience, like you don't have to make all 4. If you do, that's up to you. But let's say you don't want to make all 4. So you could say, okay, which one would we prefer? Because I'm thinking because these are like similar color palettes. So I have a pumpkin or I have a candy corn. Which one do you prefer? Have them vote. That can be on Monday. And then maybe Tuesday, okay, vote again, guys. Do we want a ghost or do we want a skull? Something like that. And then show them an option. Maybe you already have that made from last year, something like that. So keep them engaged. And then, yeah, the third week, then you're going to, like, this is now kind of like the meat and potatoes of posting about your pre-sale. So you've got them thinking about it. You've been counting it down. So now you're going to say, okay, pre-sales are Saturday, October 29th. It's at this park, whatever you do, your house, whatever. If it's porch pickups, whatever works for you. Post those details. Okay, so Monday you're going to post all of your details. Tuesday you're going to, okay, here, you voted and I've decided here are our final offerings. Friday, now you can post, I don't know, one more, maybe like a meme, I don't know, post a meme. Throw in some of that content, that freebie content that will get engagement. Week 4, okay, it's go time. Your Monday post is going to be like, hey, my pre-sale is live, go for it. Wednesday, again, however many times you post, you're going to do, I don't know, show like, maybe that's when you can post like a reel of you decorating like one cookie. Like, hey, did you see I'm offering this personalized pumpkin? Here, see how it comes together. Be way more creative in your captions. And then Friday, again, you could do a meme or another video or another post, whatever works for you. And then week 5, pre-sales are still going, post about that, so on and so forth. Just keep going. But if you follow like a similar pattern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or all week, post list that out, have a calendar in front of you, and just have an idea. Again, you can plan it all out in an hour. I feel like throughout this live, maybe you've gotten a lot of ideas. You kind of know where you want to go. Follow a similar pattern for every holiday, and you can plan out your pre-sales pretty quickly. And then just because we're starting on October, oh my gosh, October's on the brain. August 26th, maybe you're starting to think like, well, okay, I can make a bank of my reviews. I know I want to post reviews, start to make those up now, and just pull them every pre-sale. What can you do now that would like work? I would figure out your offerings, and get any cookie cutters that you need. That's always like the biggest one you don't want to wait. And I know that a lot of shops have them out now. Excuse me. That was kind of the end of my notes. I was trying to think of where I was going to go next with that. Yeah, we're going to stop there. If I think of anything, I'll always just comment in the comments. But I'm going to go through and answer any questions. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat right now, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. And then we'll end in an hour. Wow. For once, I didn't talk too long. But yeah, the whole point of this live was kind of to give you some tips of how to run your pre-sale, how to plan for your pre-sale. Planning is kind of my big thing. But just to get your brain thinking about it, I feel like it may not be 1 hour in concession, like in a row, like all 60 minutes in a row, but if you start now, in an hour worth of time, you can have it all planned out. I have the luxury of having like 1 hour uninterrupted of no kids. I don't have kids, but I know a lot of you guys do, and you may not have an hour, so maybe like 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, but you can get it planned, and then just start creating like little posts. You can do a lot of it through templates on Canva. They have so many different templates that are in their free version, but also their paid version, that you can just plug in your information, and you've made a post. I've made posts in just a few minutes on Canva, so that's kind of what I recommend, but you can do whatever works for you. Mini cookies are always really popular. I feel like in my area they're pretty popular. I just think minis are cute, so definitely get some minis in there. Now all of a sudden my body's like, hey, I'm gonna be nasally. I don't know what's up with that. How do you take time to plan while fulfilling all your current orders? Becky, that's a great question. How do you take the time to plan while fulfilling all your current orders? I don't currently have an order, so maybe I feel like I have the luxury of kind of having time to do this, but one thing I would recommend is where in your system of making your orders can you fit in like 10 minutes? Maybe it's while a batch of cookies are in the oven. So while cookies are baking, can you pull out your laptop or your phone and just like real quick make a review post or a countdown post, and then keep it consistent. So if you're going to count down for 4 weeks the number of days, maybe it's going to be like the same post, you're just going to change the numbers. So like kind of come up with that kind of content. But I would just fit it in where you have like little bits of time. This is weird and you can judge me for it. I will not mind. It's okay. I do some random stuff while I like am going to the bathroom. Like I have Canva on my phone and I'll make like a quick post. Maybe that sounds really weird. Maybe don't do that. But I fit in like things really randomly throughout the day, and that's kind of what I would recommend, but it kind of just depends on you and your time and what you feel comfortable with. That's probably not the best answer, but sadly it's the one I have. Alicia says, what are the best ways to offer to take orders, making it less complicated? They talk about this in the group a lot, so it kind of just depends on you and your audience. I have always used a Jot form. That's what I like. It's really easy to take payment through that, and I have it connected to Square. Yeah, Square. Excuse me. So I can only speak to using Jot form, but I also know that there is a way to set up cast iron. So they always talk about cast iron on the podcast. That's one of the sponsors. I know it's pretty easy to set up. Maybe you start working on like a cast iron site. Those would be my 2 tips. Unfortunately, I don't know how some of the other platforms work. I would just say a jot form. It's really easy. Like, put in your information, pick your offerings, they can check it, and then it adds up, and then they can pay. That's what I've used. And it works if you don't have a lot of offerings. If you put too many things in there, it kind of gets like clustered and kind of weird. So that would just be up to you. So the next question is, what editing platform do you recommend? I don't edit videos very often. Hang on, there's one that I've used that I like. Let me see if I can find it. I cannot remember the name of it to save my life. I mean, you could go as simple as using like iMovie if you have an iPhone. The only thing I don't like about iMovie is it like changes like the way that your video looks. But another one is Splice, but I think you have to pay for that. And I don't remember how much it costs, but I like Splice. But there's some other ones that are free. I just don't know their names. I'm sorry, I'm like the worst at answering questions because I'm just like, I don't know. That's up to you. So, okay, Lisa asked, do you halt all custom orders during this time? I don't take custom orders very often, so I don't typically have any during this time, but when I'm planning out, so like, let's say it's January and you planned out your entire year, I would maybe book out, like, maybe the time that your pre-sale is running because you know you're going to be baking, maybe block that out. While you're just engaging, you can still do custom orders. I feel like that would be manageable. But maybe while you're doing the baking stuff for your customs, I would hold that. But if you haven't planned to do that yet this year, I would just try to find like a good balance of it. It's totally up to you. I feel like all my answers right now are just like, it's up to you. Whatever you find, whatever you like. But honestly, I don't have custom orders very often, so it's hard for me to speak to that. It would just be what you feel comfortable with. Oh, I'm so glad that you like this live. I always feel like when I speak, I'm all over the place, so I apologize, but I'm glad that you found some bonus. So, okay, so Andrea asked, at what point do you order your packaging, supplies, ingredients, things like that? So, for ingredients, I always have ingredients on hand, and I try to, like, plan ahead of time, so, like, you can always have, like, your dry ingredients on hand, but for your packaging and supplies, you could start now. So, let's say you want to put a little personalized single into a bag, and you want to put a bow on it with a tag. You could go to Michael's right now or Hobby Lobby or whatever and start to buy that stuff. It doesn't have to be like very specific or anything like that. So I would start to get some of that stuff now. As for like, let's say you are gonna have your audience gonna help pick what you're gonna put into your in your offerings in your pre-sale, maybe you want to start ordering, like, you could have, like, basic, so I follow somebody who's local to me. She doesn't bake anymore. I think it's Honey Heart Cookie Company. She doesn't do anything anymore, but she would just make very basic shapes. So I would imagine she just has, like, the large cookie cutter of a pumpkin. I think she did, like, candy corn, a skull, and a ghost, and that's where that came from earlier. So I would just have those on hand. Like, you could order those now, and that's going to be good for every year. So I would just start to think about what can you do with what you already have? What can you buy that would be good year after year? Like this year, you might want to offer Hocus Pocus because the second one is coming out, and that's kind of like fresh in everybody's mind. So that might be something specific you need to offer now, or to buy now. But I would start now. Because, I mean, we are just barely at the beginning, almost the beginning of September, and I feel like now is still a good time. You have a couple weeks, and you don't really need anything until, like, the beginning of October to start to bake and stuff like that, so I would start now. But I would just think through, like, what could you get now that would be beneficial and, like, would work no matter what you offer. Yeah, so I just go for 3 weeks and whatever I make in 3 weeks. So the question is, do you set goals of how many of each offerings you want to sell? So I always have a higher goal of DIY kits because they're the easiest for me to produce, mass produce. I like sit down in front of Netflix watching weird reality TV shows, and I like scoop sprinkles into those like little cups. So I can like start to get those things done now, and they're the easiest for me to make, and they are the fastest. So I always want to sell more DIY kits. That's kind of my money maker. But like I also offer like cupcakes and stuff. So I try to keep that to a reasonable amount. I have a process for cupcakes where I do 1 day baking, 1 day decorating. So I need a 2-day runtime, and I can only make maybe, I think my max in a day was 20. So I don't want to do more than 20 dozen cupcakes. That's kind of my personal sweet spot where I don't feel like I'm getting burned out. So think about what would be the easiest for you to make, and kind of plan. I don't know if you're somebody who's making cookies or something like that. So think about what would work for your audience and what would be the easiest thing for you to sell, make the most money, and not have to do a lot of work for. So I would just think about that. But it's really up to you and your business. Yes, Corey, I saw this. This is amazing. Don't forget on Facebook, you can schedule your posts in the, what is it called? I think it's just like the business suite, the like Facebook business suite, whatever they're calling it now. I think you can do it there. But you can also post for Instagram and Facebook at the same time. Okay, so then one of the last questions is, not one of the last, one other question is, Ellen says, assuming that you follow this process for Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, do you find it overwhelming once those multiple holidays and the scheduling process start overlapping? And if so, do you have any tips for getting through that? So that's a really good question. My only tip, and it's not even really a tip, so I apologize, is to plan it out. I don't get overwhelmed by the idea of Halloween, Thanksgiving, especially. Yeah, they're all going to overlap because if you plan out 6 weeks, so no matter what, they'll overlap, especially Christmas, because you want to start posting Christmas even earlier, in my opinion. So I don't get overwhelmed by that as like myself, but your audience might, but you know your audience more. So my biggest tip is to plan it out, right? Like if I sit down and I plan out Halloween based off of this live, I feel like this one will help you with all of them, but like more specifically Halloween. Plan out Halloween. Maybe if you are going to do Thanksgiving, you can still start. So while Halloween is going, maybe like, so Monday you're posting about your Halloween pre-sale, like ordering. And then you start to engage like, hey, I know we're still talking about Halloween, but like, don't forget Thanksgiving is coming up. So you can still do the process, but don't make it so often that like, you don't want to post every day about like Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas at the same time. So make it like kind of balanced where you're like, hey guys, we're wrapping up Halloween, but Thanksgiving's right around the corner. Don't forget. And then I know a lot of people will start to do like the little elf on the shelf things for Christmas, and you need more time for that. You can run them simultaneously. I cannot speak. And just don't be overwhelming. Don't post 400 posts a day where you're like Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, elf on the shelf, things like that. Like make it so it's like spaced out. And maybe it's just one holiday a day. That's what and I don't get overwhelmed by like the planning process because I plan out on paper. And I have a list, like I have a planner where everything is planned out. So that's what I would recommend. If you have any other follow-up questions to that, I can try to answer it. I'm going to wrap this up. It's been like an hour, so I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I'll let you guys go. But I will definitely answer in the chat, in the comments. I cannot talk. What are your content buckets? Okay, so Annie asked, what are your content buckets for your Monday, Wednesday, Friday post strategy? So my following this pre-sale, so like it's gonna kind of change a little bit, but like my first content bucket would be maybe like bringing awareness and counting down. So I might have, I don't even know if I'm on the screen, I'm not even looking at it anymore. I might have like my Monday be 15 days until pre-sale launches, or 10 more days left to order, some kind of countdown, where I'm also kind of giving them a little bit, like, don't just be like 10 days and that's it, that's the end of your, like, I would give them a little bit more detail in like your caption. Wednesday, I would maybe do like, here's one thing I'm offering. These aren't specific contents, this is kind of just what I would focus on, but like Monday would be a countdown, Wednesday would be an offering, and then maybe Friday is a meme. Something that's more engaging where you can kind of boost up, but make it specific to what you're offering, so you want to just build that, like, that engagement. I'm going to continue to think about this, and I will give more feedback when I have a better answer. Because I feel like I'm not answering it well enough, and I want to give it the answer, like a proper answer. Yeah, so you want to run, this sounds like I'm like, you want to run, like you have to do this. No, do what works for you. But I recommend 6 to 7 weeks based off of when you have your pickup. And I think that us and our audience know that back to back to back, within a month of each other, we have Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. So I don't think it would create any sort of like freaking out or fatigue or anything if we post it at the same time. Just don't, like I was mentioning earlier, just don't post Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas in the same day. I feel like that's going to be like way too scattered. And be strategic in how you post your captions. And there's actually, I don't know if it happened or if it's coming up, but there's a live about like captions and copywriting. Definitely check that out. I think that's going to be super helpful. But I don't think it's going to cause any issues if you plan your content out better. And then, so maybe if your Halloween, like the end of Halloween and the beginning of Thanksgiving are overlapping, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're posting about your Halloween pre-sale, and then Tuesday, Thursday, you're like bringing awareness to Thanksgiving. So maybe then you are posting 5 times, but like because you're kind of getting the system down, I feel like you don't want to be so rigid that it's like the same thing, just different colors and different holiday, but like it's kind of the same thing, and I don't think your audience is going to care. So just plan it out so it's like kind of spaced out. Oh yeah, definitely keep checking out. Oh, CapCut is a good editing app. Yeah, you guys can see all of that. There's some information. I want to say there's a live. I feel like there's a live for everything. But if you're interested in cast iron, I think there's a live. But they are also like, their customer service is like next level, and they will help you out if you like just reach out and ask them for it. I started making a cast iron and I was setting it up all wrong, and they like, I never asked for it, but they like reached out to me and like was like, hey, just a heads up, you kind of should do this differently, and they like completely helped me out. So they will help you. If you don't have time for videos, don't force yourself to do videos. That's just like one, I know that's kind of what Instagram is like going more towards, or even Facebook. So that's why I mentioned making reels. But if you don't have time for it, I would think just any engagement post that your audience is used to would be good. It doesn't have to be. You could maybe, this would be like a carousel of steps of decorating a cookie or something like that, and just take photos. So decorate a step, take a photo, decorate a step, take a photo, and then like you could post something like that, like, hey, do you want to know how to decorate a pumpkin? And do that, and then that can kind of go with your like DIY kit or whatever the case may be. Whatever works for you, make it work for you. Okay, that's kind of what I'm going to I'm going to stop it there. Some other good questions. I'm going to answer them later because we've already gone over an hour. But a lot of it, the comments, there's a lot of really good like feedback also answering those questions. So definitely check that out. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end it. I just want to thank you guys for joining me live today. I know Friday morning is probably like, you're like, oh, do I want to go to a live? But I thank you for coming. Oh my gosh. And thanks for bearing with me while I figured out how to talk. And like, oh my gosh, when I cough, I start to like, my eyes are watering. I'm falling apart, so I'm going to let you guys go. But post your questions in the comment. Keep posting them. I will answer them in a little bit because I do have to like go to work, do my actual job, which is like so annoying, but I have to do that. But if you watch this after the fact, just say replay, and I will make sure that I answer all of your questions. Thank you so much again. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you guys have a fantastic Halloween pre-sale. All right, everybody, have a good day.